Uh, uh. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Morning Deuce with D-Spin. Happy Monday, start of a new week. I have to be honest, I'm kind of dreading going to work today. It's going to be a really difficult day at the office, actually. It's funny. Working in the media is an interesting thing. I think in this way, maybe it's a little bit like being a doctor or a medical professional. You want to care enough about your patient, if you're a doctor or a surgeon or something like that in a hospital. You want to care enough about your patient that you want them to succeed. You want them to be, healthy and receive the best care they can get. But you can't be so empathetic and so connected to every patient because sometimes the results are bad. Sometimes you have patients that die that don't survive. And you sort of have to always be able to maintain your distance with a patient, I think, where you can give that like empathy. This is what I understand, at least from people I know in the medical world. But give that empathy, that best care, but not let it destroy you if the results don't go the way that you want to. And sometimes media is like that. You have to care enough to want to share the best stories, the most honest stories and information, but you can't get so much intense empathy in a story that you get caught in the rabbit hole where the details affect you so much that you you become unable to tell a good story. I do a lot with the elections, and I'm not the most political person in the world. And I think that helps. I mean, I'm political enough that I want to be informed, that I want to be educated, that I care, but I'm not so passionate about it that I get my emotions involved where it inhibits my ability to pragmatically tell the story of what's going on during the campaign. You want to have enough emotion to get excited, but you don't want it to cloud your judgment. But every now and then stories come in where it's really hard to kind of keep your distance from the stories, to keep your distance from the events that are happening. I mean, I'm not going to say anything about Orlando that somebody hasn't already said, or I'm not going to do anything that's groundbreaking. But I think these type of events, everyone feels connected to them. And the crazy thing about social media is you have a voice that people can see readily so quickly that we all jump maybe with that emotion so quickly to what has to be changed, what needs to be done, how can we prevent this from happening, what's the next step, this, and this, that there's almost moments where we lose sight of like the families of how many people were affected. The actual thought that there are people who still might not know if their friends or families were killed in that incident, if they don't know what has happened, or they're still recovering, from learning that someone they knew was at that nightclub and they made it out, and that person might have to deal with that for the rest of their life, that they lost a friend that they went to that nightclub with, that they were going to go and they didn't. They decided not to. They decided to like blow it off and change plans at the last minute, and they lose friends and family. Sometimes I think we're so quick to just say what we want to do to make a change. And it's important to look at these events and figure out how we can make a change and prevent them from happening. But sometimes it's not more important than just realizing there's probably people who need help in a different way. Like, families who need information and money and giving blood and medical care. Those are such pressing needs. Those are where the thoughts I think we have should lie. And then it's just sort of a tough story for me to separate from, because it's something that I feel like you could see happening to people in my own life that I like or love, or anyone for that matter. But I look at this story and I think about, my life and the two people in my life who are probably the most influential to me, the most connected to me on a different level. I mean, one is gay and the other is in a relationship with someone who has, gender fluidity, who identifies as a different gender than they are genetically. So I look at that and I feel a connection to this story that's different, I think, because that is, those people are so important to me. They're probably the two most important people in my life. And I know that this is like a hatred towards them and their lifestyle, and that's hard to let go of. I know that the shooter is born, in New York, but is second generation Afghani. And I have a brother who is from Afghanistan. And I know that, he will receive like a hatred towards him and his lifestyle, even though that's not representative of him at all, or his lifestyle, or his family, or like the incredible work they did. His family has like a history of fighting against the Taliban and leading resistance, and his dad was like an incredible doctor for the resistance, and he has all these amazing values, but that's not necessarily how he's going to be judged when he goes to work today. And that might not be the type of looks that he gets when he's on public transportation going to the office. And it's sad, but it's true. I mean, after the marathon bombing in Boston, I was with him at one point in time, and he had met this girl, and he was talking with her, and I think she was about to kiss him, and at one point she said to him, "I can't do this. You look too much like suspect number 2," which was just so overwhelming. And obviously she was drunk, and the sentence just sort of came out, and he was in awesome sport about it, and he ended up actually kind of like laughing it off and just sort of was like, "That's crazy," and like, ha ha ha, chuckle chuckle. But that's a real thing that people have in their brain. I mean, that's a real thing that like he has to walk around and deal with as, someone who maybe somewhat sort of looks like and has a somewhat sort of family heritage that's similar to a guy who made this horrible choice. And then, the people that I love so intensely and who are so important to me, who are connected to this community, they will reflect on how this could have been a nightclub that they went to. And I was at a nightclub on Saturday night at a bar with a dance floor and all that stuff with tons of people. I mean, this could have been me. And so the empathy of knowing that, and I'm not the only one. I'm personalizing it to me because that's how I feel, and that's what's going to make it difficult to keep the story at arm's length when I go into work, to tell it without emotion, or, to help other people tell it without emotion or rage or whatever, just like to really hone in on these families and these people that are lost and what it means. So that's sort of where my head is at. I'm kind of dreading it. I'm dreading that that's 8 hours of my day is going to have to kind of rethink these couple thoughts that I just got out now, because those don't go out of your head that quickly. Like, oh, the people that I care about most, are members of this community that people have chosen to, to hate like that. And I could see that I could be one of the families. And that's a really weird feeling. And then the other way, for the shooter and my Afghan brother, it's just weird. It's just a very weird thing for me. And it's weird for families. I remember one time my mom said, because my brother had come out, and I asked her, like, how was that? And she was like, "You're really sad as a parent, but you're sad as a parent because you know that that's a harder way for your child, and you never want to think that, your child is going to experience a more difficult life because of a circumstance like that. You're sad and it's hard because there's some people who are going to hate your child and judge your child and dislike and be mean to your child without ever knowing them for nothing that they ever did. And that's a reality. And obviously it's like something that everyone, how you choose to react to these situations and what the families choose to do will be entirely different. And it's all based on their relationship with whomever they know who was a victim or who was involved in this process. But it's just something that I know it's going to carry around inside my head for my day. And that's what I'm thinking about this Monday, how I'm going to be able to try to get through this and tell the story at arm's length and not let it impact, the rest of what I'm doing. But maybe it will have to. Maybe that's just the way it works. Maybe sometimes you just have to be impacted. But that's the end of part 1. So for part 2, I'm just going to go quick here because nothing else really seems to make sense. But you have to throw some positivity in. So a lot of you guys listened to an interview I did a couple weeks ago. I keep mentioning it with my friend Derek. It was really good. And one of the things we talked about was a wall of inspiration, which I have been building and continue to add to. And it's just literally a wall or like anything. It can be a board, it can be anything, but just writing down thoughts of positivity and putting them up there all the time so that you look at them, you can't avoid them. You're programming your brain to see them, to put the focus in what you want to do. And I've added a bunch of things lately towards it. There's some goals that I added a long time ago that have changed, but I've, because I started this a long time ago and then kind of scrapped the project when I moved at the end of last summer and then just started rebuilding it. And it's interesting to see what things have changed and what things haven't. But I have gotten some of the things done, sort of goals, and then others are just like inspirational, things, ways that I want to live, sort of frame of mind I want to be in when I'm doing different things. So it really helps me set up my mind. I am kind of using that to program my brain in the right direction, to do a little meditation, to get some things started in the morning. And I notice my best and most productive days are the days where I use that wall to kind of put me in the right headspace and then to sort of have that morning routine. So I don't know if anyone does a wall of inspiration. You should let me know. Write into me. See if you're going to start one. If you are, let me know. And you can write to me on Twitter, dspin4, the win. Or at #trenders, and let me know how that's going and if you see any progress and if you like what you're doing. Because a day on today, I feel like, sort of was in part 1, but to mentally do what I think I'm going to have to do at work today, I want to put myself in the best mind frame. So doing something like that, I'm going to go add something to that wall, whatever it is, upstairs, whatever comes to me, and I'm going to take a couple minutes before I go into work and put my head in the right space and program my mind to be the best it can be to deal with, what I might have to deal with. So that's part 2, inspire yourself, set a goal, do something that makes you happy, put your brain in the right direction. I'm Dave. I'm out. Happy Monday.